In a small house on the edge of Kyoto lives a couple who have been married for 63 years. One day, someone asked them the secret to a marriage that long. The wife thought for a moment, gently straightened the cup on the table, and said something that would make a Western marriage counselor drop their pen. "In all these years," she said, "we have never once told each other, 'I love you.' Not because they didn't love each other, but because they never needed to dot." In the West, we're taught that love is a feeling you fall into and then must prove over and over with words, with gifts, with passion, with grand gestures. We measure love by its volume. The more often "I love you" is said, the stronger the bond must be. But here's a strange thing almost no one says out loud. In the West, we say, "I love you" more than almost anywhere on earth, and we also divorce more than almost anywhere on earth. In Japan, it's the opposite. Fewer words, quieter, and far longer marriages. So it isn't the words, it's something else. Something almost invisible from the outside, yet stronger than any declaration. I call it the quiet marriage. From the outside, almost nothing seems to happen in it. No dramatic reconciliations, no passionate scenes, no posts about the best husband in the world. And that is exactly why it lasts. While some swear eternal love under fireworks every year and divorce within 3, others spend 60 years quietly drinking tea by the same window and cannot imagine being apart. Divorce is markedly rarer in Japan than in the West, and not because unhappy couples are afraid to leave. It's because, from the very start, they understand something different about what love is actually made of. Once you see it, you stop waiting to be loved and start noticing how you already are and how you could love back. That single shift is where every one of these 6 habits begins. Today, I'll show you 6 quiet habits that hold Japanese marriages together, the ones that survive decades without shouting matches, without endless, "we need to talk," without dramatic scenes, and without divorce. Not one of these habits is about passion. And every one of them is something you can start doing tonight. Stay until the 6th secret. It's the one we in the West have forgotten most completely, and it may be more important than all the others combined. A quick warning, these secrets will feel too simple. And that very feeling, "this is too simple to change anything," is exactly the reason your marriage isn't already doing it. Let quote S begin. Because the first secret explains all the others. Secret 1. They understand each other without words. In Japanese, there's an expression, Ishin-Denshin. Literally, it means from heart to heart. It's the ability to understand another person without a single spoken word, by a glance, by a pause, by the way they slipped off their shoes at the door, set down a cup, or exhaled as they sat at the table. In the West, we're taught the exact opposite. Say everything. Your partner can't read your mind. If you feel it, say it. If you want it, spell it out. And there's truth in that. I won't argue. But there's also a trap no one warns us about. We've grown so used to demanding words that we've slowly forgotten how to notice. We keep waiting for love to be announced out loud and miss how it's being shown to us every single day. Their quote, an American psychologist, John Gottman, who spent decades studying thousands of married couples in his lab. He was looking for what separates the couples who stay together from the ones who fall apart. And what he found was surprisingly quiet. Throughout the day, each of us sends our partner tiny signals. He called them bids for connection. A glance. Look at that bird. A sigh. A hand on the shoulder. They're microscopic requests. Notice me. Be with me for a second. And here's what he discovered. The couples who stayed happily together answered those little signals almost every time. The couples who later divorced, only about a third of the time. The entire difference between a strong marriage and a broken one was hiding in these unnoticed moments that most of us simply miss. A Japanese couple seems to know this without any laboratory. They don't build a conversation, they build an attunement to each other. Over years, 2 people learn to read one another so precisely that words become almost unnecessary. He sees she's come home tired and quietly takes over dinner. She notices he's darker than usual and simply pours him tea without burying him in, What happened? What's wrong? Talk to me. This isn't telepathy, and it isn't about staying silent and hoarding resentment. It's about attention. Years of attention turned into the habit of truly looking at the other person. Here, quote, the shift. Love is not what you announce. Love is how closely you look. The words, I love you, can be said on autopilot while scrolling a phone. But noticing that someone you love had a hard day and quietly making that evening a little lighter without being asked, that cannot be faked. Tonight, try one thing. Catch just one of those tiny bids your partner didn't say directly, the tiredness in their voice, a glance, a small joy they wanted to share, and respond to that. Put down the phone. Turn toward them. Answer. You'll be amazed how loud such a quiet gesture is. And here's what matters. You can't learn this in one evening. Attention is a muscle. The first days, you'll catch yourself staring at a screen while someone beside you was talking. In a month, you'll start noticing things you missed for years. In a year, you'll read your partner from half a glance, like that couple in Kyoto. But attention is only the beginning, because the second secret turns it into something you can touch. And it happens every day, twice, right at the door. Secret 2. They have daily rituals, tiny and almost sacred. In a Japanese home, the same words are spoken every day. In the morning, leaving, a person says, "Ittekimasu," I'm going, and I will come back. The one staying answers, "Itterashai," go and come back. In the evening at the door comes "Tadaima," I'm home, and the reply always flies back, "Okaeri," welcome home. This isn't empty formality. It's a small bridge that reconnects two people every single day, on the way out and on the way in. Every morning you tell each other, I'm leaving, but I'm coming back to you. Every evening, I'm home and I was waited for here. These words are repeated tens of thousands of times over a life, and their power is precisely in that repetition. Now, be honest about how it works for us. How many times have you left home muttering something over your shoulder, already staring at your phone? How many times have you come back and no one even lifted their head from a screen? We're not fighting. We just quietly stop marking the very fact of each other's presence. First, the greeting disappears, then the glance. And one day, the home turns out to be just an address where two parallel lives sleep under one roof. The Japanese understand what we missed. Closeness rests not on rare big events, but on the endless repetition of small ones. One anniversary a year won't save a marriage in which 300 ordinary evenings passed in silence, back to back. But a short, warm, welcome home every evening will. The very predictability of these micro moments gives a person something they don't realize they crave. The sense that there's a place and a person they always come back to. Psychologists noticed this long ago. People need predictable warmth more than rare bursts of happiness. Our oldest, deepest part is calmed not by surprise, but by reliability, by being met each evening with the same warm words. A child grows up steady when they know they're expected. With adults, it's exactly the same. We're just too shy to admit it. That's why in Japan, these words at the door don't change for decades. Their unchanging nature is the whole point. The world outside storms, everything shifts, work, news, health, but that little welcome home stays the same. An anchor the whole house holds on to. I once knew a couple with a ritual. Every evening, no matter what, they drank 1 cup of tea together before doing anything else. 10 minutes, no phones, no television. One day they dropped it. Too busy, too tired. Nothing dramatic happened. But a year later, they suddenly realized they'd become strangers who happened to pay a mortgage together. The ritual left and closeness left with it, quietly, unnoticed by anyone. Here, quote, the shift. Don't chase the grand, build a ritual. The same warm word or gesture on the way out and the way in. A cup of tea that always waits. 3 minutes at the door when you simply look at each other before diving into the evening's chaos. A ritual is the glue of a marriage, and it costs almost nothing. You already have 100 little moments that could become one. The The first coffee, the last light switched off, the walk to the car. Pick one and make it sacred. Repeat it until the day it feels strange to skip it. That strangeness is the sound of a bond forming. The third secret makes that glue stronger still. And it's all about what's done silently, without a single request. Secret 3. They care without waiting to be asked. Japanese culture has a subtle idea, Kikubari. It's hard to translate in one word. It's thoughtfulness, attentiveness, the ability to notice another's need before it's spoken, and to quietly meet it. When the rice is already warm when you arrive, though you never called ahead. When the umbrella is by the door on exactly the morning the rain is coming. When your cup is full again and you never noticed who filled it or when. Thousands of small things, done without words, without keeping score, without expecting thanks. Now recall the Western model. We keep score. I took out the trash last time. Now it's your turn. I asked you to do this. Why is it always me? We turn care into accounting, into a trade of services where each side tensely watches to make sure they're not being used, that the contribution is exactly even. And the single most destructive word in that whole system is asked, because care you had to ask for loses half its warmth. It stops being a gift and becomes the completion of an assignment. The Japanese logic is entirely different. Real care is when your partner never had to ask at all. You simply saw and did. Not for a thank you, not for a point in your favor in some invisible match, but because their life is partly your care too. That's the quiet intimacy. Living so attentively that you catch the other's needs on the fly. One elderly Japanese woman said that in 40 years, her husband never once asked her out loud to make his favorite soup. On cold days, the soup simply appeared on the table. And on those same cold days, without a word, he went out in the morning to warm up her car. Neither kept score of who did more. Each just looked and did. That's why in a Japanese home, you so rarely hear an irritated, "How long do I have to wait?" There's almost nothing to wait for. The care arrives before the request is even born. And notice, this isn't about becoming a servant and dissolving into the other. It's about mutual care without a scoreboard. When both care quietly and go first, no one feels like a debtor. Both feel surrounded by attention. Here, the shift. Stop waiting for instructions and tallying who owes whom. Start noticing. One small act of care a day, done before you're asked and done silently, says more than 100 settled arguments about who's really in charge of the trash. And the beautiful part, when both people care first, without being asked, no one ends up feeling like the maid, and no one feels like a guest. Two people going first, quietly, that is what a home actually feels like. And yet, even two of the most attentive people will suffocate if they only ever breathe each other. So the fourth secret sounds almost daring. To be closer, they need a little distance. Secret 4. They leave each other space. In Japanese aesthetics, there's a word, ma. It's the pause. The emptiness between two notes that turns a set of sounds into music. The gap, the silence, the air between objects. The Japanese don't fear emptiness. They consider it the very thing that gives everything else meaning and beauty. They carry the same principle into marriage. Each keeps something of their own hobbies, their own friends, their own corner, their own time alone. In many Japanese couples, there's personal space, a personal rhythm, and sometimes even separate sleeping. And none of it is seen as a crack in the relationship or a sign the love has cooled. It's seen as respect and ordinary common sense. In the West, we believe the opposite myth. That real love is total fusion. That your partner must become everything at once. Best friend, passion, therapist, business partner, second self. The single source of everything good in life. We fuse so tightly that not a drop of air is left between us. And then we're genuinely surprised there's nothing to breathe and where the spark went. But the spark doesn't die from distance. The spark dies from suffocation. There's a well-known thought from the therapist Esther Perel. Passion is a fire, and fire needs air. Desire is born in the gap, in the chance to see the other as slightly unfamiliar again, separate, interesting. When two people are glued together 24 hours a day, there's nothing left to look at. Everything is already known in advance. Ma teaches something else. A little space is not distance. It's what keeps the attraction alive. When each of you has a full life of your own, you always have something to fill the shared one with. You come back to each other not because you're obligated and have nowhere else to go, but because you truly want to, and you bring something new with you. Closeness isn't two people staring endlessly at each other. Closeness is two people calmly looking in the same direction, each from their own place, glad simply that the other is near. The space doesn't divide them. It gives them something to talk about when they're together again. Here, quote, the shift. Stop demanding that you be everything for each other and fill every minute as a pair. Give your partner their emptiness, their silence, their separate pursuit, their evening with friends, without resentment, guilt, or jealousy. Closeness only breathes when a little air is left between two people. Miss each other a little. Let there be a door that closes sometimes, a hobby the other doesn't share, an hour that is yours alone. Distance is not the enemy of intimacy. Indifference is. And nothing breeds indifference faster than two people who have stopped being even slightly curious about each other. But where two people live side by side for years, friction is inevitable. And the fifth secret is about what the Japanese do with that friction, nothing like what we do. Secret 5. They don't go to war over small things. Japanese culture prizes way above all harmony, not victory, not being right, not I told you so. Harmony. And in a marriage that changes everything. There are two more words worth knowing here. Gaman, the ability to calmly bear what isn't worth a fight, and Enryo, restraint, the skill of not dumping every flash of irritation onto the other. Together, they give something simple. A Japanese couple doesn't turn every little thing into a battlefield. In the West, we were taught the opposite. Let it all out. Don't bottle it up. Voice every grievance, or it'll poison you from inside. And so we stage a battle over an unwashed cup, over a tone, over 10 minutes of lateness, over how the toothpaste is squeezed. We desperately want to win the argument, and don't notice that in winning the argument, we lose the closeness. You can be absolutely right and absolutely alone in the very same room. That same researcher, Gottman, found another sobering thing. About 2/3 of all disagreements in a couple are so-called perpetual problems. They can't be solved in principle because they grow from differences in character, habits, temperament. Happy couples intuitively understand this. They don't try to win the unwinnable. They learn to live with it and even joke about it. Unhappy couples wage the same war year after year, hoping to finally win, and slowly grind each other to dust. Let me be clear, so I'm not misunderstood. Gaman is not about silently swallowing grievances until they explode one day in shattered dishes. It's about the wisdom to tell the important from the empty. The big things, money, respect, faithfulness, how to raise the children, are discussed directly, calmly, and seriously. The small things, a tone, a cup, someone's sweet annoying habit, are let go, consciously, lightly, not through gritted teeth. And ask yourself honestly, how many of the last fights in your home were really about the unwashed pan and not about the pan at all? Almost always, something else hides behind the small thing. I'm worn out. I feel unappreciated. I miss you. Japanese wisdom is not to fight the pan when the war isn't about the pan. The small thing, let it go. The real thing behind it, say it directly and kindly, but no longer as an attack. As a confession. And you know what's most unexpected? Couples who stop warring over trifles fight big far less often, not more, because that daily little poison no longer collects between them, the poison whose drops later gather into the big, frightening explosions. So before the next argument, ask yourself one small question. Will this matter in a week? If not, let it go. Not swallowed with resentment, but released lightly. You'll be stunned how many problems in a marriage are just tiredness that found the wrong exit. And now we come to the sixth secret, the one worth staying for, the one we in the West have lost most completely. Secret 6. Every day, they give thanks for what has become invisible. In Japan, there's a word said at the end of the day, Otsukaresama. Roughly, it means, you worked hard, thank you for your effort, I see it wasn't easy for you. It's said to a colleague, to a loved one, to anyone who simply got through a hard day. And in a marriage, it becomes a quiet, daily habit to notice and to name out loud the other's effort. Because here's what happens in every long marriage, without exception. At first, we see and treasure everything our partner does. Every dinner feels like a gift. Every act of care moves us. And then we get used to it. The dinner that appears on the table every evening. The money someone silently earns and brings home. The clean shirts, the bills paid on time, the warm, tidy house. All of it slowly turns into background, into air, into something taken for granted. We stop seeing it, and once we stop seeing it, we stop giving thanks. And the person beside us slowly begins to feel invisible. Not unloved, invisible. They keep pouring themselves in, keep carrying their half of the home, but as if into a void where no one notices. And honestly, that sometimes wounds even deeper than an open fight. Conscia, gratitude, is the habit of making visible again what has become background. A short, thank you for being on your feet all day for us. A look that says, I see what this costs you, and I don't take it for granted. It weighs almost nothing, and it holds up the whole marriage. Studies of gratitude show a simple thing. People who regularly feel their partner values them hold on to the relationship far more firmly and invest back far more willingly. Gratitude starts a circle. You're seen, you want to give more, you're thanked again. There, quote, as a quiet, aching story about a husband who, all his life, rarely praised his wife out loud. After she was gone, he took out an old notebook. It turned out that for 40 years he had written down every single day one small thing she had done for him. Made soup when I was sick. Ironed my shirt for an important meeting. Waited by the window even though I was late. Thousands of lines. He saw everything. He just never managed to say it in time. Don't be that husband. What you're putting off for someday, say tonight. And one more thing, gratitude is the one habit of the 6 you can never overdo. Attention can tire, care can smother, you can give too much space, but a warm, sincere, thank you, I see what this costs you is never too much. Think of it this way. Every day your partner does 100 invisible things, and every day the world gives them 0 thanks for it. You are the only person on earth positioned to change that number. It takes 5 seconds. It lands for hours. Here, quote, "Ows the shift," and it may be the most important one in this whole video. Stop taking for granted what you've grown used to. Tonight, name out loud one specific thing your partner does constantly and unnoticed, and thank them for exactly that. Not an abstract, thanks for everything, but this. Thank you for making that coffee every morning. Thank you for carrying that job for us. For the thing you maybe haven't named out loud in years, and just watch what happens to their face. So, we have 6 secrets. Let's step back for a moment and look at them together. Understanding without words. Daily rituals at the door. Care without being asked. Space within closeness. Peace instead of small wars. And gratitude for what became invisible. 6 habits. Now ask yourself the same question we asked at the very start. What do they all share? Look closely, and the answer is almost frighteningly simple. Not one of these habits is about a feeling. Not one. No one in that little Kyoto courtyard is waiting for the inspiration to love to strike. No one is measuring their marriage in butterflies or sitting in anxiety watching the first passion fade. They simply do. Quietly, every day, regardless of mood. That's the whole quiet revolution. Love decided not by how you happen to feel, but by what you're willing to do. Because here's the single thread tying all 6 together. In the West, we were taught that love is a feeling, something that happens to you, that you fall into can fall out of, that can one day just pass. And if it's a feeling, then supposedly you can't control it. You can only wait and hope it doesn't leave and panic when it quiets down. The Japanese marriage is built on the exact opposite. Love is not what you feel. Love is what you do. It's a practice, not a mood, a verb, not a noun, and a practice can be continued even when the feeling has gone quiet for a while. And it's exactly in those stretches that marriages either quietly crumble or are tempered for good. Feelings are weather, habits are climate. The West keeps chasing the weather. Japan quietly builds the climate and lets the weather do what it will. That woman in Kyoto, 63 years married, never once said, "I love you" to her husband. Not because she didn't love him, but because there was no need to say it. Her love was already ringing through the whole house. She showed it with warm rice, waiting for his return, with a quiet, welcome home at the door, with attention to his tiredness, with the cup of tea she poured before he could ask. Every day, for 63 years. The words would simply have been redundant. And here's the good news, the part that matters for you. To love like that, you don't have to be born in Japan. You don't need money, a therapist, a perfect partner, or a rekindled feeling. All of it is already within your reach, starting tonight. You don't need to fix your whole marriage this week, and you don't need your partner to change first. You only need to become, in one small way, the person who goes first, and to keep being that person on the ordinary Tuesday nights when no one would ever know if you didn't, quote, pick one secret. The one that quietly tugged at you as you listened. Notice the unspoken. Say a warm word at the door. Do something without being asked. Give a little air. Let go of an empty fight. Give thanks for the invisible. Just one, tonight, because a marriage doesn't fall apart in a day, and it isn't saved in a day. It's built exactly the way it's lost, out of small, almost invisible evenings. And one more important thing. Don't try to start all 6 habits at once. It never works. You'll just burn out within a week. Take one. Live with it for 7 days until it becomes as unnoticed as breathing. Then add the second. That's how, quietly and one at a time, the marriages are built that others later look at with envy and ask, "What's your secret?" And the secret, as you now know, is that there is none. There are just 6 small things someone didn't get too lazy to do every day for a lifetime. Think for a second about the happiest couple you knew as a child. Grandparents, the neighbors through the wall, a friend's parents, anyone. Most likely they weren't richer or better looking than the rest. They had no secret words and no special fate. They simply did, day after day, dozens of tiny things for each other that no one counted and almost no one noticed from outside. He held the door for her. She left the hall light on for him. Now you know what all of it is called in one phrase: the quiet marriage. And you know the main thing. It's not a gift of fate handed to the chosen few, but a simple skill you can start learning tonight. And in 60 years, maybe, it'll be you someone looks at with quiet envy, asking what your secret was. But you won't really have a secret to hand them. You'll just have 1,000 ordinary evenings you chose not to waste. So tell me down in the comments, which of the 6 secrets will you start with first? Just the number, 1 to 6. I read every single one. And if this video touched something alive in you, share it with the person you want to grow old beside. Sometimes the warmest confession is simply to send a video like this and quietly say, "Watch this. It's about us." Then close the phone and go do your one small thing. Because love never lived in loud words. It always lived in what we do for each other when no one is watching.